Welcome, totally human listeners, to Neighborhood Watch, a narrative horror podcast set in the RPG world of Hunter, the Vigil. Due to adult language and violent nature of the stories told, this podcast is rated M for mature, and we strongly encourage listener discretion.
Episode 1. It Takes the Village. My name was Jill Creed back then. This confession is my vigil. Alone we are fragile, together we are strong, and strength is only dangerous when you stand in its way. When I was a little girl, I wasn't scared of the ghost lady living in my house. I thought she was beautiful. She teased me rather than my parents, because only I'd get to see her, knocking my toothbrush off the sink when I wasn't looking, or closing doors just before you passed by 'em. If I thought I saw her, she'd be heading down to the root cellar we kept a bit from the house. Normally, if a ghost passes through, the room's gonna get cold. Anytime she'd be in a room, though, I'd get this warmth in my belly, and lower places too. There was one night I got to speak to her directly. Just before my junior prom, I went to the root cellar, and I heard a voice ask me to put out the candle I'd been holding. So I did. She showed herself to me then. She floated before me in a sundress like my grandmother in photos, her hair tied up in a complicated, thick bun filled with beautiful braids. The ghost lady asked if I'd ever lived before, and I didn't know how to answer. She stroked my hand with hers, and the chill made all parts of me squeeze with cold excitement. She entered my body through my mouth, and I felt her fingers extend inside mine like a pair of long, elegant leather gloves. I was a beautiful dress for her to wear. She was my date to the prom, and we got into all kinds of trouble that night. I was released from fear, and I never felt more free. I danced close to boys, making them lean just enough so they'd trip over themselves. I picked up things and I put them in my mama's purse. Wallets, lighters, whatever I wanted. And I stole a car, and I drove it. It wasn't me doing it, but it wasn't me stopping the ghost lady either. I only tried fighting her when she drove in front of Ellie McCoy's home, and she banged my hand against the door, and when Ellie answered, she threw my face into hers. Ellie grabbed onto both of us, and I grabbed back, and for the first time, I knew what my brother was talking about when he talked about getting drunk last Christmas. He said that it didn't feel right because it was wrong, but because it was secretly right, privately right. My father found out. Of course he did. Small town, people talk. It just felt right to do what I wanted without feeling no fear. My daddy used to hunt, the way I hunt now. He brought an old priest named Pastor Richards into the root cellar with us, and they locked the doors behind them. Pastor Richards spoke of light and darkness, of mankind's sinful nature and God's righteous path and plan for all of us. None of it made no sense. Just loud rhetoric. So they tied me to a chair, and with the booming voice of Almighty Jesus, they forced the wickedness to crawl out of me. Except the ghost lady had left my body hours ago. They put stupid shit in my head, and other places, to beat the sin out of me, make me unfit for anything else to hide inside. After an hour, my head ringing and my wrists rubbed raw and near bleeding. They left me in the cellar, left me in the dark. I cried for the last time in my life, found a shovel, and I tried digging a new way out. I kept hitting something hard, thin pieces of stone, the more that I dug. I found a lantern, and I struggled to light it, and I saw my digging had unearthed half a dozen skeletons, one wearing a tattered slip-on sundress. In the morning, my father told me to leave. We both kept our shit buried from each other, and nothing's worse than family. Family knows what you bury and can unearth it any time they want. My father told me never to come back, and I obliged him. My name is Madge Gunthrey. This confession is my vigil against the darkness of man and beyond. It's Tuesday night when I use the back door to Dr. Zakir Hossain's office. The color of the wood paneling on every wall is fake, but the aged splinters are real. Our doctor's assistant retreats to another room like a mouse at the sight of me. Sweet girl, small girl, keeps her head down. In her office, Dr. Hossain's typing at a computer, of course, doesn't even look up when I sit down next to her. At least I get a nod and a smile. Us big girls, we gotta stick together. She makes small talk about some stolen opiates. Seems even low-level painkillers are in high demand these days, and no insurance is willing to cover 'em. You befriend the 2-bit plastic surgeon for the same reason you befriend the door person or the garbage man. The rich will pay anything to make something disappear. Pay even more to make that shit disappear before family finds out. Dr. Hossain makes crow's feet, cellulites, and sometimes entire faces just vanish overnight. Dr. Hossain opens the bottom drawer of her desk, and she hands me a sample she mentioned over the phone. There's a glass container holding some black boils, skins firm and wet like a blackberry. She said she's been cutting these off people for the last week, and they keep coming too. They don't react to antibodies or steroids. I ask what's in the liquid of the container. Bleach. Little black fuckers got tiny hairs pressing against the glass. I thought it was my hand shaking that made the growth move on the inside, sliming around from one side to another, top to bottom. And it wasn't. Dr. Hossain says they ain't appearing on rats or possums or cats, strictly humans. This implies someone knows what they're doing and that they don't have time to spread misinformation. First case she heard of were a couple of the bums living by the water treatment plant, other side of 495, near the cemetery. I asked her why she'd want me impeding on her sudden boom of business. Dr. Hossain says it's attracting bigger problems. She motions for me to look out the front window. There's a big white van from Cityscape Landscaping across the street from the doctor's office. Solid black tainted windows. She types on a Word document that the van has been there the last 3 days now. Someone monitoring, or just seeing how their final product is testing out in the field. I don't take kindly to my friends and contacts being monitored. It's about time to play the anglerfish. I ask loudly for her to give me all her research and samples. I bang my fist on her desk, slap my own face to get the sound effect. I tell her that I'm taking this folder with me to the lab, to the water treatment plant, and if she thinks about following me, then she's as good as dead. 30 seconds into the argument, I find a planted microphone tucked behind the photo of her baby granddaughter. Here's hoping Cityscape Landscaping has big enough ears and a tiny enough dick to take on the challenge. At night, the industrial zones only appear empty. Ever since I moved up to Queens, I have to keep an eye on kids getting too curious. Most compacts don't harass thrill seekers, save for Network Zero or maybe the Ashwood Abbey. They've been picky ever since they lost one of their own back in September. Any place with a smooth, concrete surface is gonna become stomping grounds for teenagers with skateboards and something to prove. I recognized Donnell's coat tossed over the barbed wire fence immediately. I'm too old to do that climbing shit. I hear Donnell's voice soon as I get out of the car and pick the lock on the gate. Means he ain't alone. Bunch of repeated, yo, shit dude, and holy shit dudes, preceded by his friend, Dion, starts running toward the entrance. He's tall for 15, but too lanky to make any use of it. He and Dion called to me, telling me that Mario is still back in the tunnel overlooks the river. Idiots were skating inside the waste tunnel of a water treatment plant. Might as well be scuba diving in a septic tank. He says that they were skating and that they weren't the only things down there. Inventory switch out from the car. Camera gets replaced with extra rounds. Road flare gets replaced by a family heirloom that I have no right in holding. I move quickly, alone and stupid. Not the first teenager I've had to bail out with a gun. He probably won't be the last. I climb the metal grate outside the sewer tunnel entrance. Easily 8 feet tall and a healthy carpet of moss around the rusty handholds. I can swing easy enough. I just hope I can swing out with an injured boy slung over my shoulders if I have to leave. The tunnel isn't as wet as I expected. Must be the drought. I need to take the left tunnel into the dark, the one that smells like burnt ass. But then the noises tell me that I'm getting closer. Some footsteps, something dragging. I drop down a foot into the next tunnel. Must run off into Newtown Creek into Greenpoint. But I finally find Mario. Shorter build, rounder face with just a long feathery Latino mustache. I hit him with the flashlight. He's reeling on the ground when the light hits his eyes. His leg is bending slowly. I don't see no blood though. Bludgeoned. Or at least tackled. Maybe he got punched. Maybe he just fell, but his skateboard's nowhere near. His mouth is taped over though. He's not injured. He's bait. I jump down and I shine the flashlight as I unholster the Gunthrey. Any traps on the floor? Any footsteps? Any way out besides where I just came in? Shit. Then I hear the heavy footsteps and I take aim. There's a pa-chunk sound like an air gun, and I take a sharp stab into the side of my thigh. It's deep and it's lodged there. I hear the pa-chunk again, and out of instinct, I dodge to the uninjured leg. Nothing hits me this time. I need to see what's aiming at me. I hate using the sunspot shot of the Gunthrey, but I pull the second trigger anyway, shoving my face into the crux of my elbow to blind from the flashbang. Tunnel illuminates as the shrapnel from the shot continues to glow and gets brighter. It ain't meant to injure, just to ward off or scare anything scared of the daylight. Target's in front, holding his arm in front of his gas-masked face. Tall and bulky, faded out firefighter uniform it looks like. Pickaxe hanging off one hip, bandolier over one shoulder loaded with, I think those are syringes, hypodermic needles. Something else attached to his shoulder, wriggling like a snake, shaped like a satellite dish. But it's too bright, too sudden, I can't make out no details. I can't tell whether it's planted there or growing out. I pull the first trigger with my mouth open, and the Gunthrey kicks my arm backward. My aim is true, and the fucker takes the shot square in the chest. I see blood burst out, but aside from taking a knee, he don't go down. He's got some huge nail gun like a contractor uses, but the safety tip on top is taped back. on his side. I guess he welded a piece of sheet metal to the gun directly to act like a shield. He twists and faces the shield at me. Now I can't see nothing. Echoed metal shriek as he runs forward with the shield facing me. Gunthry's got 2 more shots before I gotta reload. Not sure I'm gonna get the chance now. I pick up Mario and I toss him into the tunnel I used to enter the place. Guy's coming in fast and my leg is already tightening up from the ribbed screw that's lodged in there. Some kind of paralyzing agent. Must be poisoned. Leg is stiffening up. Can't bend low past the knee. Bastard's almost on top of me now. Can't pierce the metal that thick. Can't move nowhere to try and trip him. So I take one last shot with the Gunthrey, and the top of his shield scatters into shrapnel. It's regular sheet metal, more of a curtain to block sight than an actual barrier to block bullets. The bastard takes the shot and he falls forward. I go to check on Mario, check his eyes. He's still breathing, thankfully. He's got a fever, which means whatever's in his system is fast-acting, which means it's probably in mine too. Firefighter suit dude isn't getting up no time soon, so we make our way out, dragging each other and breathing hard, sweating despite the freezing air in the tunnel. The 2 of us get to the front tunnel all right, and I tell him to get over the entrance. Something's not right. Big guy like that, I think he went down too easily, Gunthrey or not. I've seen things survive a shot from that before, so I scramble back, shining Mario's fist-sized LED flashlight. I don't see firefighter suit anywhere. Motherfucker must have just been playing dead. We both make it back to the car, and Donnell and Dion have the first aid kit ready to go. Mario's got a headache, his eyes are dilated, but other than some scratches from some wipeouts earlier in the night, I think he should be fine. I tell Dion to check Mario everywhere. They snort. I tell them about the black boils, and Mario's shirt is suddenly off in a flash. Dion's too, for some reason. Mario gives me his GoPro camera and says it was recording the whole night, assuming the battery was charged. So I take it, because more intel is better than none. New problem is my leg. I can't bend the knee, can't rotate the ankle, barely swivels in my hip socket. Numbing agent is powerful, probably aiming for my heart. Should have hit it by now though. I should be totally paralyzed. Localized, not sure what that means. I take the pliers from the glove compartment and I twist the screw back out of my thigh. Barely bleeds. Coagulant. Areas turning yellow under the flashlight. That means infection. Might as well be patient 0. Better me than this kid. Still means I get more intel. If I'm watching it, I can report on how it feels. Gotta get to the Rodriguez place. I still can't move my leg. So I ask the boys if any of them know how to drive yet. Then I ask if they'd like to learn. Dion's eyes go wider than a Christian listening to Bill Hicks for the first time, and he places me in the passenger seat atop a mattress of newspapers, fast food wrappers, usual camouflage. He plugs in the keys with the delicacy of a virgin on prom night, and he moans with the engine when it turns over. Whoever or whatever was back in that tunnel isn't gone, and I'm already leaving a stupidly easy to follow trail. So I tell him where to drive. You see, hunter cells aren't formed through rigorous interviews or tests. The homegrown ones usually come from a team picked at the wrong time in the wrong place. I still have the microphone from Dr. Hussein's office, though, in my pocket. So I give it to Donnell. He doesn't even ask what it's from, because in his mind, he's just been validated and initiated. I tell Mario to go with him and make sure Donnell doesn't get distracted by any girls along the way. Just get rid of it. Attach it to something on the highway. And then the car starts moving jerkily forward. Clearly, Dion has never handled a car before. No time like the present. It takes a village to protect a village. It takes a common enemy to unite that village. And it takes a shared loss before it calls itself a village. I'm always hesitant to pull someone new behind the curtain. Much as there's strength in numbers, more eyes on the subject, that also means more mouths too. And things that hunt things as smart as people, they have very big ears. You can't just tell someone about the shapeshifters, or the outsiders, or the bloodsuckers, or the corrupted. But that's when the newbies get caught unaware. It's when they don't listen to you. You need to experience the horror for yourself before you can be committed enough to stand with somebody like me. People can take any amount of trauma, it turns out. Don't mean they can always take the first hit. My hip is burning, and I feel fever coming on. I'm gonna need Rodriguez to be home, awake and sober, or at least two of those. Or I'm not gonna be either of them by sunrise. I think that whoever or whatever is back in that tunnel is gonna take a village to stop.
Neighborhood Watch is part of the Chroniclers of Darkness. It is written by Uncle Yo and produced by Jimmy Lin. Original music produced by Jimmy Lin. Excerpts from the album Hexed used with permission from Anders Manga. Special thanks as always to White Wolf Publishing and Onyx Path Publishing for giving us a whole new world of darkness. Without you, our paranoia wouldn't be nearly as charming. What was that scratch? Okay, it's gone. Comments, questions, extra scrap silver laying around you'd like to donate? Leave a like, share, or a positive review on iTunes. Or join our doomed cause on our Facebook page at facebook.com/UncleYo. This podcast is supported by patrons like you at patreon.com/UncleYo. So check us out and help fuel the vigil, because the nights are getting longer. Game on. Include everyone, and remember that death is more likely than retirement. But at least you won't face retirement alone.